This is a full story. Kitten wishes you all a happy day and enjoyable story. The rose in my hand slipped to the floor. My fiance Hailey was lying in bed with another man, still wearing her wedding dress. Tomorrow was supposed to be our wedding day. I gave a bitter smile. Do you know this is our marital home? I asked. Hailey replied nonchalantly. If I want excitement, I'll go all the way. And so what if you found out? You're just a dog my dad raised. Would you dare divorce me? I shook my head and turned to leave. She scoffed behind me, calling me useless. As I closed the door, the sound of heavy breathing drifted from the room. All these years, I had been working under her father, rising through the ranks. Hailey always thought she had me under control. What she didn't know was, her father had fallen into dementia 6 months ago. I had seized every bit of his power. With just one word from me, her family would go bankrupt. I made 2 phone calls. One was to tell all our friends and family that the wedding tomorrow was off. The other was to my assistant, telling her to inform the shareholders that from today onward, I would no longer protect the H Corporation. The shareholders acted fast. When I arrived downstairs, Hailey's chauffeur rushed over, bowed deeply, and drove off in the Porsche. That car and driver were once gifts from shareholders trying to please her father. Now in their eyes, Hailey was worthless. Upstairs, she was still indulging herself, not knowing that from now on, she couldn't even afford a subway ride, let alone a Porsche. Even this marital home was gifted by a developer who heard we were getting married, hoping to befriend me by giving it to Hailey in name. I had just gotten into my car when I saw the property management rushing upstairs. This 300 square meter Riverview apartment was no longer hers to live in. Soon after, Hailey was dragged down by security, disheveled, shouting anxiously, "Don't touch me. What are you doing? Do you know who my dad is?" Her dad. After I took his power, he was nobody. Hailey spotted me sitting in the car. She broke free from security, ran up to my window, and slammed her hands against it, screaming in rage, "Rocky, what the hell are you doing? I'm going to tell my dad and make sure you lose everything." She still didn't get it. The one who had lost everything was her. The man beside her anxiously pleaded, "Rocky, this was our fault, Hailey and I, but you can't throw her out like this. Even a crow knows to repay kindness. Don't forget how her father promoted you all these years." I glanced at him. I knew him. Tony, the one Hailey loved during her school days. Hailey had truly loved him for years. I always knew. When Tony got the chance to study abroad, Hailey gave herself to him. She got pregnant that night, but aborted the child, crying that she had lost his baby. Back then, I worked tirelessly for the H Corporation. Now, I only wanted the legacy. I said lightly to my driver, "Drive." The view outside began to blur as we moved. Hailey banged on the window hysterically, screaming, "Rocky, at the shareholder meeting the day after tomorrow, I'll clean house and kick you out of H Corporation." Kick me out. I laughed. All these years, people thought our father was the one promoting me, but they forgot. He made his fortune through smuggling and was caught for tax evasion. It was my loyal father who took the blame. Out of guilt, Hailey's dad took me in as his godson. The first day I stepped into their home, Hailey looked down on me and said, "They say your dad is my dad's dog, so from today on, you're my dog too." Her father laughed heartily, said kids speak nonsense, told me not to take it seriously. From that day on, I lived for the H Corporation. In front of classmates, Hailey would call me her little dog, make me carry her backpack, do her homework. If I disobeyed even a little, she'd shout in front of everyone, "You're a fatherless mutt. If it weren't for my dad, you'd have starved to death. You don't even know how to be grateful." During New Year, I wore a new outfit, and she would show it off everywhere, saying it was her dad who bought it. Even the red envelope money came from him. Since I was a child, I was their loyal dog. When I grew up, I joined the H Corporation and rose rapidly. But every step I took was stained with invisible blood, removing every obstacle to Hailey's rise. I built a throne, waiting for Hailey to take her seat. She spent all these years indulging in pleasure, leaving the road to me to pave. Once she had enough fun, she could simply sit and rule. Looking back, it was thanks to her neglect, even ignoring her father, that I was able to seize this massive inheritance. The next day, Hailey came to me bringing Tony with her. She pushed open my office door and yelled, "Rocky, how dare you cancel the wedding?" I glanced at her calmly. "What is it? Where's my dad? All my cards are frozen. Tony had to pay for a ride here." Casually, I said, "The chairman is out of town on business." But in reality, he wasn't doing business. He didn't even remember who he was anymore. I had already placed him in a nursing home overseas. Hailey looked into my eyes, then suddenly laughed in rage. "I was going to kick you out at tomorrow's shareholders meeting, but your smug face disgusts me more and more. You think you belong in that chair, sitting there like some polished mutt. Get up." She slammed a document onto my desk. I picked it up and looked. It was a personnel appointment letter. "Mr. Tony is appointed as Assistant General Manager of the company. Upon his return from abroad, he will assume the position immediately." It was signed by Hailey's father, dated exactly 6 months ago, starting directly as my assistant. This was clearly aimed at my job. They even expected me to train him myself. So in the end, Hailey's father only ever saw me as a loyal dog to their family. Hailey sneered, "Let me tell you, that suit of yours will only last 3 more months. That chair you're in, it belongs to Tony." Tony pretended to be polite. "Sorry." Hailey said the company needed help. I didn't expect things to turn out like this. I nodded, extended my hand to him. "Welcome to the company." He shook my hand, his face brimming with triumph. I withdrew my hand. But you stepped into my office with your left foot first. That reflects poorly on company image. Go to HR and process your resignation. Tony's smile froze on his face. Hailey widened her eyes. How dare you? You're actually firing Tony. I sat calmly flipping through files. I'm firing my assistant. Is that a problem? Tony tried to maintain his composure. He gave a bitter smile. Rocky, shut up. Do you think you can call me Rocky? All right, Rocky, I understand you're angry, but this is an appointment made by Hailey's father. Firing me now will make you look terrible at the shareholders meeting tomorrow. Will it? I opened my phone camera, examined my face, then said seriously, I think I look great. My best features are my chin and eye bags. He stared blankly, speechless. Hailey, furious, swept the documents off my desk. Rocky, do you really think you're the general manager of my family's company? Let me tell you the truth. I dated you and planned to marry you, only because my dad saw how you gathered a team of elites. So he used you to win their hearts. Now the company's stable. We don't need you anymore. I nodded. I had known this all along. She laughed coldly. You're about to be penniless. Why else do you think I made you sign a prenuptial agreement? Whether we marry or divorce, our assets are separate. How pitiful. Some people won't even afford a bowl of ramen soon. I laughed out loud. Thanks to that prenuptial agreement. You dare laugh. Hailey was about to explode again, but I simply stood up, adjusted my tie. Sorry, I have a meeting to attend. I won't be accompanying you too. Tony sighed. Rocky, I know it's hard to accept right now. I'll come report for duty tomorrow instead. Don't worry, you're talented. 3 months later when I'm the general manager, I'll still have you assist me. I didn't bother to respond, just turned and walked out. I called my secretary. Once the call connected, I asked, how's it going? The secretary replied respectfully, starting tomorrow. H Group will be no more. Good. Arrange my ride for tomorrow morning. The shareholders meeting begins in the morning. Where will you be heading? To prison. To pick someone up. Outside the prison gates, I sat in the Maybach, reviewing the proposal for tomorrow. As the gate opened, my father stepped out with a worn bag, dressed in simple clothes. The secretary rushed forward to carry his bag. He walked up to me, touched the car door, and sighed. President Hailey is so generous, letting you ride such a luxurious car. Get in, I said calmly. He hesitated a bit, then got in, nervously wiped the seat. I'm dirty. Don't want to mess up President Hailey's car. Son, she really raised you well. Look how presentable you are now. Raised me. I let out a cold laugh. In middle school, Hailey forced me to wash her feet, just to show off in front of classmates. Then she made me drink her foot water. When I refused, she slapped me 3 times in front of everyone. Her father just told her not to joke too much. That's called raising me. I studied hard, got into a top university, but because she needed a servant, I was sent to a third-rate college. While I cleaned her dorm, she pampered Tony in a hotel. After her abortion, she ordered me around like a dog. Is that raising me? The taste of that foot water, I'll never forget. The humiliation of being a man, I'll never forget either. My father's smile slowly faded. He said quietly, you can't be ungrateful. Look at you now in a suit. All thanks to H Group's support. I stayed silent. Our values are different. We cannot walk the same path. He had been loyal to H Group for decades. Even a bone from them he'd chew with gratitude. But not me. I suffered. I was humiliated. No one will ever step on me again. Today I brought him here to witness the fall of H Group and see me rise to the top. When we arrived at H Group headquarters, Hailey and Tony were already waiting. As soon as my father saw Hailey, he eagerly ran over. Hailey, you've grown so much. Hailey gave him a disgusted glance. Old man, who are you? Why do you know me? I'm your Uncle Rocky. President Hailey came to visit me 5 years ago. She even showed me your photo. I recognized you right away. Hailey seemed to realize something. She sneered. Uncle Rocky, you really did a great job raising your son. My father didn't catch the sarcasm. He replied flatteringly, thanks to you and President Hailey's care. Hailey glanced at me arrogantly, then turned to my father. I'm thirsty. Go buy me a bottle of water. Sure, I'll go right away. I watched my father run off to buy her water, and she turned to me with a cold smile. See that? Your dad is better at being a dog than you are. I stood at the door, patiently waiting for my father to return. He came back out of breath and brought a bottle of mineral water for Hailey. Hailey took the bottle and immediately threw it on the ground. I want it cold. She snapped. My father was startled and quickly said, I'll go get you another one. No need. I don't feel like drinking anymore. Hailey shot me a defiant look, then walked straight through the company's front door. My father returned to my side. Looking helpless, he forced a bitter smile and said, she's got a bit of a temper. Make sure to buy her one later. I said softly, come on, the meeting's about to start. I'll allow you to listen in. The shareholders meeting. All 12 shareholders were present. Only the chairman's seat at the end of the table remained empty. Hailey sat in her chair, chewing gum casually, and asked lazily, where's my dad? I picked up the file and spoke into the microphone. Today marks our 3rd quarterly meeting of the year. Miss Hailey missed the last 2, so I'll summarize the key points. She remained remained dismissive, snorted and said, I was visiting Tony overseas the first time. The second time he was on vacation and came to see me. All the shareholders looked grim. She really wasn't pretending anymore. I cleared my throat and said, in Q1, I led the company into the digital market, signed with 85 influencers, leveraged New Year's sales, and earned $40 million in profit. In Q2, to reduce costs, we built our own team of influencers, crafted viral marketing strategies, greatly cut expenses, and made $70 million, preparing for mid-year sales. Hailey suddenly raised her hand and interrupted me. Enough, no need to brag in front of me. That's your job. Everything you did, Tony could have done too, and he'd do it even better. At her words, my father's face changed in the corner. He looked extremely worried, as if afraid I had lost H Group's support. Tony smiled and said, Rocky, you've paved the way well. When I take over, I'll lead the company to new heights during Singles Day. Thanks for setting the stage. I glanced at him. Indeed, this perfect setup was built by me over the years. I brought H Group prosperity, yet the H family only ever treated me like a dog. Hailey said sweetly, Tony, no need to thank him. The company is already on the rise. When you take over, you'll be holding a royal flush. Tony smiled and replied, silly girl, no matter the company's state, I'll be with you through good times and bad. Hearing Tony say that, I finally felt relieved. I cleared my throat and continued. In Q3, the company suffered a $400 million loss. Over half our warehouse leases expired and couldn't be renewed. 5 banks requested early loan repayments. The chairman has fled overseas. Today's meeting is to apply for dissolution. Hailey was stunned. Her smile froze, then vanished, leaving her pale. I sighed. Miss Hailey, good thing you're here today. Your father fled the country. There are debt collectors outside. They said if the debt isn't paid today, it's 1 finger per 100,000. Thankfully, Tony is here to share your burdens. Your family owes $4 million. You two can repay it, counting toes included. Hailey lost all her arrogance. She grabbed my clothes, trembling as she spoke. What did you do? We were making profits. How could it suddenly go bankrupt? Tell me. I looked at her crumbling expression and smiled. I've been working hard to run the business for your family, but you're right. I'm not capable. Tony should take this seat. That's right. It's all business. In Q1, we worked well with influencers. By Q2, I realized Hailey's father was becoming senile, so I proposed we build our own influencer team. To reduce marketing expenses, I founded a new company, positioned it as a partner for H Group, and told her father it was all for Hailey. Her father, selfish and greedy, was happy to funnel shareholder money into his own pocket under the guise of collaboration. Meanwhile, Hailey only cared about having fun. She didn't read a single company document, just signed and took the money. She had already handed me the company with her own hands. In his last moments of clarity, her father still thought he was paving the way for her, trying to kick me out. In Q2, on the surface, I was working hard, but secretly, I signed a bunch of oddball influencers. But our company sells affordable luxury goods. I signed contracts with these knave influencers. That gave them almost no profit share. By Q3, her father had lost his mind. Under my manipulation, H Group poured money into my new company's marketing, but got no results. Production increased, and debt piled up. Technically, the other shareholders should have caught on, but they were all on my side. To accomplish big things, you must know how to share benefits. After years of working together, the shareholders all knew how selfish and incompetent the H family was. Once they saw the father's secret dealings, they firmly chose to back me. I couldn't have done it alone. I had the support of the other 11 shareholders. Everyone except Hailey. The defeated Hailey turned desperately to Tony. Tony frantically grabbed my documents and said, Hailey, don't panic. There's still unsold inventory. Your family has decades of production lines and clients. That's our capital. Once we sell everything, based on your shareholding, not only can you repay the debt, you'll still be worth millions. Hearing that, Hailey breathed a sigh of relief. I nodded and said, yes, today a new company will come to discuss acquiring the business. Hailey exploded, screaming at me, you useless idiot. Go make some tea. Greet the new boss properly. Following her order, I made a cup of tea and placed it in the chairman's seat. Then I sat down and took a sip myself. Hailey stared at me in shock. You useless thing. Why are you drinking the tea? I replied, now, let's discuss the acquisition of your family's business. Hailey was stunned at first, but she quickly recovered. She gritted her teeth and said, so that's it. You've already thrown yourself at someone else's feet like a dog, even helping them negotiate the acquisition of our company. A servant will always be a servant. Hailey sat back down in her chair, a cold sneer on her face. What price is your new master offering? I replied, I've already had everything in the warehouse inventoried, including the production lines, the remaining lease terms, and the stable client list. The total value is approximately $240 million. Tony's eyes lit up. He turned to Hailey and said excitedly, baby, sell it all, pay off the debt, and you'll still walk away with at least $100 million. Hailey nodded. She looked at me and said, I don't want to waste time talking to you. You don't even qualify to negotiate with me. Tell your master to pay now. Also, I have one more condition. I asked, what is it? She said coldly, I want your new master to write it in black and white in the contract that you will never be allowed to serve as general manager. I paused for a moment, then answered honestly, I'm not the general manager manager of the company. That was the truth. In the new company, I was the chairman. The general manager position was going to my secretary. Upon hearing that I wasn't the general manager, Hailey suddenly burst into laughter. Rocky, I'm suffering. And you've fallen too. You pathetic servant. Even after losing your position, you still go groveling at your new master's feet. You are truly disgusting. I looked at her calmly and asked, have you laughed enough? She waved her hand dismissively. You're not even worth laughing at anymore. 240 million. Bring the contract. Let's all sign it. All the shareholders in the room looked at Hailey with meaningful expressions. She was confused. What are you all staring at? Come read the contract already. I asked her, did I say I would offer 240 million? She froze. I said, considering depreciation of the production lines and that the goods are off season, our company is offering 40 million. Hailey slammed the table and shouted, who bargains like this? Fine. I'm not selling anymore. There are plenty of companies out there who want to buy. I don't need you. She stood up in fury and tried to leave. Tony grabbed her hand and said to me, Rocky, now I see it clearly. Your company never intended to buy anything. You're just here out of spite, trying to bully Hailey. I smiled. And so, he said, what goes around comes around. When we rise again, everything you did to humiliate Hailey today, I'll make you pay back 100-fold. I'll deal with those creditors. The H group is still a camel, even if it's skin and bones. It's bigger than a horse. He wrapped his arm around Hailey's waist, glared at me viciously, and tried to take her away. I spoke coldly. Stop. This is a shareholder meeting. Whether or not to sell to our company is not your decision. It will be decided by a shareholder vote. Hailey mocked. With terms like that, you think they'll agree? I said, all shareholders in favor of the sale, please raise your hands. One by one, the shareholders raised their hands. Hailey's face turned paler and paler. Tony staggered, nearly unable to stand, stunned by what he saw. For major corporate resolutions, over 2/3 of the votes are required for approval. And at this moment, 11-1. I smiled and said, approved. Let's sign the contract. Are you all insane? You're selling something worth 240 million for just 40 million. Hailey finally lost control, screaming like a madwoman, right in the middle of the conference room. Of course, the shareholders agreed. The new company had been built entirely by us, and each shareholder had placed trusted people or family members in it. Acquiring H Group was just like moving money from the left pocket to the right, except we had to pay taxes on it. This was only the beginning of us dismantling H Group piece by piece, paying them back for everything they'd done to us over the years. Hailey cursed loudly. You traitorous bastards. You ungrateful snakes. My dad is the biggest shareholder. He has veto power. She might be foolish, but Tony clearly saw the truth of the situation. He stopped supporting her, cold sweat dripping from his forehead. I said, your father has already fled the country. He's been blacklisted by multiple financial institutions. Do you think he can come back to vote? The shareholders have the right to act, to minimize losses in a timely manner. I can vote on his behalf. Together our shares outweigh everyone else's. Do you have a power of attorney? Your dad ran away. He's not dead. What makes you think you can inherit his shares? Hailey's face turned ashen. Just then, the doors of the conference room burst open. Several burly men walked in, their faces rough, tattoos peeking out from their collars and sleeves. Clearly not the kind to mess with. They were the debt collectors, who had come for H Group's money. Hailey's father, in order to avoid involving other shareholders, had turned to private lending. His greed became the final straw that crushed H Group. I said, Miss Hailey, once you receive today's payment, you can settle the debt with the bank. But as for the 4 million owed to these gentlemen, I'm afraid that's beyond your ability to repay. One of the tattooed men suddenly burst out laughing. She can repay it. We have ways to make sure she earns that 4 million. I asked, the kind of ways that lets someone appear in many corners of the world at the same time. The man sneered. That's only the final option. Hailey swallowed hard. She turned to Tony and asked, what are they talking about? How can someone be in many places at once? Tony's face was pale. He had begun trembling. Eventually he said, don't panic. We'll pay these guys first. We can delay the bank. We'll wait for your dad to come back. I placed the contract I had long prepared onto the table. Hailey, hands shaking, flipped through the pages. Then she suddenly looked up and shouted, Partier Rocky. I smiled and said, allow me to introduce myself. From today on, I am the owner of H Group, and you are just a dog by my side. Her father sat in the corner, utterly dumbfounded. With a heavy thud, Hailey fell to her knees. Even if she had been foolish before, she now fully understood her situation. Clutching the hem of my suit, she begged, President Rocky, I was wrong. I was completely wrong. Please, for the sake of all those years my family supported you, forgive me. I sneered. You have the nerve to mention support. Hailey, you and your family know exactly how you treated me all these years. No matter what, I was still your fiance. 2 days ago, you were rolling around in my bridal suite with that man. Do you really think you're still worthy of the word fiance? Tony swallowed hard. He turned to Hailey and said, sign it. Let's not beg him. Once we get the money, I'll find a way to get you out of the country. You'll live like a rich wife again. I chuckled. Even now, Tony was still dreaming of Hailey's money. All the shareholders began signing the contract one by one. I called my secretary and said softly, make the transfer. Hailey let out a breath of relief. She turned to the tattooed men and said, gentlemen, I'll repay you in just a moment. I I have access to my father's card and password. Tony wrapped his arm around her and looked back at me. Mark my words. We will make you pay 100-fold. Hailey, no longer pretending to plead, gritted her teeth and shouted, Rocky, you heartless beast. Tony's talent is far above yours. We will rise again overseas. Come back and destroy you completely. I rubbed my chin and said with a grin, oh no, that's bad. Hailey froze. What's bad? I slapped my forehead and said, I was really careless. Your father's card. I forgot to tell finance to repay it 3 months ago. Now it's been frozen by the bank. But don't worry, once the money arrives, the bank will probably seize it to cover the debt immediately. I smiled as I spoke. So don't worry, you won't owe the bank anything anymore. Hailey could barely stand, her body swaying where she stood. One of the tattooed men frowned. Miss Hailey, so you're saying you can't pay us the $4 million you owe? Hailey opened her mouth, but no words came out. Tony, seeing that Hailey was finished, turned to leave. She quickly grabbed his arm, panicked. Tony, where are you going? Don't drag me down with you. Tony shook her off. From today on, we're done for good. But you just said you'd stay with me through thick and thin. This isn't about thick or thin anymore. It's about staying alive. Even couples run when disaster hits, let alone me and you. Hailey collapsed weakly to the floor, as if all strength had drained from her. I laughed and said, Tony, you're not getting away either. He stopped, his voice cold. Rocky, don't try to scare me, to put it bluntly. So what if I slept with your fiance? I'm not your employee. I owe no debt. I come and go as I please. Looking at Tony's proud face, I smiled. There's no debt between us, but Hailey was once my fiance, so there are still some things I can settle on her behalf. He asked, what things? 3 years ago, she gave you a Porsche 911, which today is still worth $1 million used. That watch you're wearing, probably a gift from her too. You could never afford it yourself. And that Armani suit, tailored and expensive. How could a student living off public scholarships afford such things? Hailey, who had been hopeless, suddenly lifted her head, her eyes burning with a glimmer of hope. She grabbed Tony's hand, her voice trembling with excitement. Yes, you can't leave. Give back everything I gave you. All the money I transferred to you, return it all. Tony roared. Who takes back gifts? That's not how it works. You bastard. I loved you for so many years, gave you so much, and now you'd rather watch me die than return what's rightfully mine. Hailey stood up, lunging at Tony, her nails reaching for his face, screaming, I'll fight you. Give me back everything now. The two who had once been inseparable were now locked in a vicious brawl. If someone walked into the shareholders' meeting now, they'd think they were in a street market. I sat comfortably in the chairman's seat, watching their chaos with great amusement. Tony wasn't holding back at all, his fist raining down on Hailey's face. But Hailey wouldn't let go of her last hope. Even with blood streaming from her nose, she clung to him like her life depended on it. Realizing she couldn't win, Hailey turned to the tattooed men. Please, help me. If I sue him, I can get the money back to repay you. The men exchanged glances, then grabbed Tony by the neck, lifting him like a chicken. If they could get the money through legal means, they'd rather avoid unnecessary trouble. Tony lost it, spitting thick phlegm right into Hailey's face, shouting, I wasted years on you, and now you want everything back. I've been used, filthy, disgusting. I should be the one saying that. I got pregnant for you, had an abortion, was ready to give you my family business, but you're the one who betrayed me in the end. I rubbed my chin, watching the furious Hailey. How amusing. She didn't call him Tony darling anymore. Eventually, Hailey repaid the debt. Clearly, she had given everything to Tony over the years. Lovers once, they now faced off in court. In the end, the court ruled that Tony must return all property. The cars and items he had could cover about $2 million. Hailey's investigation found she had also transferred $8 million in cash to him. But there was a problem. Tony had been spending like crazy since he latched on to a rich woman. Even with the court order, he couldn't repay anything. In the end, Hailey fully embraced the selfishness she inherited from her father. She sold the $6 million debt to those tattooed thugs. Making a free profit of $600,000 was an easy decision for them. Of course, they agreed. They had their own ways to get the money back. After I acquired the H Group's production line's customer base and product stock, the first thing I did was launch marketing campaigns. I converted goods into cash, terminated contracts with those flashy influencers, and instead signed new deals with content creators whose followers matched the light luxury market. We had already prepared a detailed business plan with the client base from H Group. The new company quickly got back on track. As for Hailey's father, he had long died abroad from illness. He would never return. The next time I saw Hailey, I was sitting in my car. She stood by the roadside. Once the pampered daughter of a wealthy family, she was now truly just a girl on the street. She wore tacky clothes, stood on the curb with a cigarette in hand. Thick makeup caked her face, but couldn't hide her deteriorating skin. I told the driver to stop and waved at her, not recognizing me. She quickly trotted over and hopped into the car. The moment she got in, a harsh stench of cheap cosmetics filled the space. It was pungent, unbearable. She greeted me with boss, then finally got a good look at me. Her mouth dropped open in shock. I asked, why are you alone? Where's Tony? I don't know. She shook her head. Ever since the court ruling, we haven't seen each other. Oh, well, this job suits you. She clutched the hem of her skirt, forcing out a faint smile. In that moment, She looked like the Hailey I remembered from childhood. The two images overlapped in my mind. Softly, Hailey said, "President Rocky, I really can't go on like this anymore. It was all my fault back then. If you'll forgive me, I'll even kneel to apologize. Please, I beg you, take me in." I said, "Do you remember that spring semester? When I wore a new outfit on the first day of school, you made me get on all fours in front of the whole class so you could ride on my back like a horse. You tore my new clothes." She began to cry. "President Rocky, I'm so sorry. I went home that day, and it was your mother who stitched my clothes back up thread by thread. You and your father are both ruthless. Once your dad made it big, he abandoned your mom without hesitation, but she loved you so much. Even when she fell ill with grief, she wanted to see you one last time, and you still refused." Hailey lowered her head in silence. I sighed. "She was the only person in your family who ever gave me warmth. If you and your father hadn't cast her aside, I would have repaid her kindness, and I never would have gone after the H family's company. Kindness is kindness. Revenge is revenge. Even if the H group is gone, I still have to do right by your mother. Come report to the company tomorrow. I'll give you a job. $10,000 monthly salary. I won't let her child starve on the streets." Hailey's eyes widened. She quickly asked, "What position?" The next day, an important old client was scheduled to visit. I picked him up in my Maybach. When we arrived at the company, the doors opened. Hailey stood at the entrance, wearing a welcome sash. She bowed respectfully. "Good morning, President Rocky." The client glanced at her puzzled. "She looks kind of familiar, but I can't quite place her." I took one look at Hailey and couldn't help but chuckle. "Just a stray dog," I said. "Hardly someone worth remembering by name." The end. If you like Kitten's story, please follow and like it. Updated every morning at 9 a.m.